What's going on, everybody? Just wanted to do a quick impromptu video. As you can see, I'm in my car, not exactly the place I wanted to be recording from, but I did want to address a couple points that I've been able to figure out now that I've had both the G2 and the G3 for a little while. So in the interest of everybody's time, just like before, I want to just jump right into it. At this point, I will say that the G3 is going to be a very solid investment for anybody that's looking to get into the Theragun. For anybody that has the G2, it's a toss-up. It can go either which way. The low setting is definitely worth the investment just by itself, and especially when you combine it with the attachment that comes with this one. I spent a little bit of time last night using this on my traps and my calves, and this alone for me is worth the price of entry. I do know that these are both very, very expensive, but for long-term health and longevity, I do think that they do have a place. I tend to have a very, very sensitive calves, probably a lot of hard muscle buildup over there. When I tried using the G2, it sucked. I would use it maybe a few minutes and I'd stop using it. And also because it's very, very loud. With this one, I was able to use it for the better part of 5-10 minutes, just do a little bit, take a little bit of a break, come back, and it was actually very enjoyable. Same thing for the traps and the neck. I do spend a lot of time in front of a computer, so for me, this is a solid investment, and it did give me relief from tension headaches, which if you're in that environment and you do experience that, it is very, very handy. I did try going back to the G2 last night while I was using the G3, and safe to say I'm pretty sold on returning the G2. Fortunately, this was a Cyber Monday purchase, and I am still eligible to return it, so I will be returning this one. So I do want to address a couple main points that are some concerns, not deal breakers by any means. So the heat is going to be probably the biggest thing that I want to address. On the G2, the heat vents here from the very bottom. So if you're using this for prolonged periods of time, I don't think you're going to have any heat buildup. On the G3, on the other hand, the vents are in this area here where you will be grabbing it. I did find out that a lot of times you will be grabbing it in this fashion, and there is some buildup of heat. It is nothing extreme, at least in the usage that I had. I used it for about 20 minutes straight last night. It's going to be about as warm as your cell phone might get when you're charging it up, where you notice it, but it's really not going to be a concern. It's not going to scald your hand or anything like that. So probably not going to be an issue. In a clinical setting where people are using it for hours straight, it might be an issue. I don't know. Another thing that I noticed was the rotating. When you're rotating it, it's a little bit harder. It did seem to move a little bit easier as time went on. But when you compare it to the G2, this one just moves very, very fluidly. So I don't know if it's going to be an issue or not. I don't know. The other thing I noticed is on the G2, there's really no side-to-side give on, I don't know what that's called. On this one, it does move a little bit. I think that's by design. Maybe it aids the movement of the percussion. I don't know. But it is something else that I did notice. Another thing that is going to be a issue for anybody looking to get to the G3 attachments for the G2, they don't fit. I tried repeatedly, they don't fit. Maybe, so just, you can see that I'm matching up, and they just do not want to go in there. So I don't know what that is, but it seems like it's not going to work. And if you look on the inside, if I can't get this on camera, or maybe I can, right there, there's a 3. So maybe it's specific to the model, I am not sure. But all of that said, if you are trying to get into the Theragun platform, I do think that the G3 is definitely going to be worth getting over the G2. In terms of noise level, this one, using it on my neck for the better part of 5 to 10 minutes straight, the noise was not an issue on the low setting. I did not use the high setting. If somebody is in the room next to you, they might hear it. It'll be probably no louder than a shredder being used, where you can hear it, but it's not going to be obnoxious like the G2. So another concern, no, not a concern, another question that got brought up is if the G3 is as powerful as the G2. I did use this attachment from the G2 on the G3, which does fit, and it does seem to be as powerful as the G2. There is a little bit of a mind game going on just because the G2 is very loud, so you feel like it's having more of an impact, whereas the G3 is very quiet compared to the G2. And it seems initially like it doesn't have the same impact, but when I alternate it back and forth to see if I noticed any difference in the force that was being applied, I did not notice a difference. So I will say that they are probably going to be about the same. Again, I don't know the technical specs, I may be wrong, but in terms of perceived ability, they seem to be on par with one another. So I think that pretty much sums up all the initial thoughts and concerns that I had with both of the products. And I will be keeping the G3. I do think it is a solid investment, especially if you have sensitive areas. The low setting, and especially this attachment with the foam, I do think it's very, very nice what they did. Initially, I had some concerns about it, but I do think that it is a very solid improvement on my part. It would be nice, and again, I might just be user error, if these attachments could be used on the G2. It could be user error, I don't know, but I do think it would be very awesome if you could do that. Yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And I will be trying to get a demo of the G3 with the Hypervolt. I do think my gym has a unit, but I will see if they will let me do a quick demo video. So everyone have a good day and good luck on your healing journey.